All right. Welcome back to another episode of Seminole Sideline 365. With me, as sometimes is the old man, and I am KB. Thanks for being with us, y'all. We're excited to be back and be discussing Friday night matchup with Duke. But before that, we got some things to get into. Obviously, there's always news surrounding this program, and being 1-5 on the season, there is a lot to talk about in terms of turmoil and roster and depth chart and who's going to be playing and who are we recruiting, who are we losing. So we can't wait to get into that and get your comments. And obviously, we had a bye week this past week, so a lot of great matchups went on this past weekend. So maybe we'll discuss that a little bit, but we don't want to get too off track because we do have a big matchup this weekend against Duke on the road. Because there is some history on the line, and we'll get into that. So before we dive into the preview, before we dive into the news, old man, what is going on? What do you have for us?
Well, what isn't going on, KB, especially in the state of Florida? We just went through two back-to-back hurricanes, obviously, Helene and Milton. One was more of a water event, which was Helene, and the other one was more of a wind event. And there's differences there. But people in Tampa are just now starting to recover today. We've heard from people down in the Tampa Bay area and further south that just got their power back. Like, what is this? Almost 6 days in, just got their power back. And so Florida's been reeling a little bit, but I think the governor, for the most part, has done a great job. Some of the city and local officials have been questioned about some of their cleanup efforts, but it's been interesting several days down here in Florida. President Biden made a visit down here as well, so we want to make sure we keep everybody in our thoughts and prayers, excuse me, in Florida as well as North Carolina, some of the other states that have been affected by this. I mean, up in North Carolina, there's been massive loss of life and property damage in towns up there that it's going to take years to recover. So, I mean, these storms are just terrific in terms of the force that they bring and the damages that they cause, and tornadoes as well that come with them. So our thoughts and prayers still remain with a lot of the residents of these different areas. Now, personally, did not suffer any damages, did not have any power loss, and I'm very, very thankful for that. Doing some normal, what you would call cleanup out in the yard from branches and tree limbs, and did lose one tree, which I've been cutting on most of the week. But other than that, everything is good to go here.
Good to hear. All right. Let's get back into college football and discussing that. So last weekend, obviously, the good thing for Florida State fans is that you got to enjoy a lot of great top 25 matchups, and you got to see what else is out there, because obviously Florida State is not going to be playing in the postseason most likely, or at least at the elite playoff level. But you got to see some interesting matchups. You got to see who's for real and who's not. And I think that thing that's really stood out to me and what I got to see of these games is that I do think the argument can be made is that there's a lot more parity in college football this year than there has been in previous years. I don't think there is, for the most part, a dominant number one team. Now, obviously, you could say Texas is that team, the way they blew out Oklahoma on the in the Red River rivalry. But Oklahoma, you could say, is not who Oklahoma typically is, a top 10 team. They're outside the top 15. You'll say things like Georgia. They've been exposed in their defense. They hung on against Mississippi State, who's not a very good team. They gave up 31 points to them. And last year, Georgia didn't give up 30 points at all during the regular season. They've given up now 30 points twice to Alabama and now to Mississippi State. And that defense doesn't look to be the typical Georgia defense that we expect. Penn State goes on the road and wins in overtime against an average USC team on the road. But once again, this is one of the, now the new Big Ten. And Florida almost pulls off an overtime victory against Tennessee. which would have been big for Billy Napier and what he's trying to do in salvaging his job and keeping that and holding on to that. Um, Among other things, the LSU game and what they did against Ole Miss. So what you're seeing, I think, in my opinion, is with NIL, you're seeing you see a lot of talent move from obviously in terms of the transfer portal. But I think you're seeing a lot of it. So we saw it Ole Miss in the portal. Obviously, it didn't help them out too much in LSU. But you're seeing it with teams like Vanderbilt.
KB, your mic's kind of
Okay,
acting.
well, it's coming in and out. But what you're seeing is that with teams like Vanderbilt's the biggest example of it. Look at the season they're having and what they've been able to build. And that's the combination of talent and coaching. And that's something that Florida State fans should look at and say, why is that not us, right? You can look at our roster and what's been built, but that is why fans should be angry at this staff to say, why aren't we developing talent? Why aren't we identifying talent? And why aren't we coaching better to be what Vanderbilt's doing in the SEC this year? Because the portal should give teams more opportunities to compete against the best teams. It shouldn't give less. Because you may say, well, certain teams have the more money, and that is true. There will be certain collectives and certain programs that will have money. But there's going to be a lot of players that are left out in the cold, and these are going to be 3-star, high 3-star, lower 4-star players who are still looking for a home. And that's what programs like Vanderbilt and programs like that are picking up. But Florida State hasn't really struck gold on the high end side because they're spending money. They're just not getting the return this year. And that's where we're struggling. But I think there's a lot more parity across college football this year. And it's made a lot of the games a lot more exciting to watch, in my opinion. But that's what I observed this past weekend. But I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I thought some of the games were very entertaining. I took a look at Oregon and Ohio State. These are two. No matter who wins a game like that, it was so close. It was almost a toss-up. Oregon pulls it out, and by 1 point in their home field. I mean, these two, in my eyes, are playoff teams. I mean, these are playoff teams. They're both strong teams, and right now, at the first half of the season, they'd be in the playoffs right there. You've got the Tennessee team. I thought Florida should have won that game. They made some mistakes late in the fourth quarter. Florida could have pulled that off. And all I hear this week when I scan the streaming media and everything else is, oh, well, Florida's not that, they're not that good a team. We should be able to take them. I don't know where the hell these, quote, full-time talking heads on Florida State think. They think we're just going to roll Florida. I don't think so. I don't think that could happen. I want it to happen, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think they're going to allow their young quarterback now, due to injury, DJ Langway. He's going to have 4 or 5 games under his belt before he comes into Tallahassee. And this kid is a player. Okay, there's no doubt about it. They got a good one here. It's how much is their offensive line, like we're trying to find one, is going to protect him. And one guy, from War Chump, I think it was Ira, he was saying that, their defense isn't that great. Well, shit, ours isn't that great either, in my opinion. So I saw some good games. There'll be some more really good matchups coming up this week, I believe. Yeah. And it's some exciting games. Texas and Georgia. Texas and Georgia is going to tell us a lot. But here's two teams that probably are playoff-worthy type teams. And Texas definitely is. Georgia, we're going to find out a little bit more about them. I'm not totally sold on Carson Beck, to be obvious, all the way on Carson Beck. That game is in Texas. So they're going to have to go out there on the road, a very hostile crowd, and we're going to see how they handle that. Yeah. That's going to be but these are two teams in the SEC. I mean, the SEC, I have to say, the SEC and the Big Ten, those are the mega conferences right now. They got a lot of powerful teams in there, and they're going to be a lot of those teams are going to be in the playoffs. Yeah. But my concern is this Florida State team. Yeah. Obviously,
before we get back to Florida State, I think you made a good point there. And talking about the landscape of college football, because I think that's a little bit more interesting than what Florida State's been doing, but we obviously will talk about that. I think this is a gut check weekend for Georgia to show what they have. And if they lose this game, I can't say they're going to be out of the playoff picture because I think we know what the committee will do, and that brand is carrying weight because of what it's done the past 5 years, 5-10 years. But this is a gut check game for Kirby Smart and that staff. We saw Kirby Smart lose his cool last weekend, or seemingly what looked like he lost his cool.
Well, he did.
But this is gut check, and this is a Texas team that exposed Michigan and basically blew up their season, blowing them out 31-12 in the Big House. You saw what they did to Oklahoma last year. They've been blowing the roof off of people, and they're going to try to do it against Georgia at home. And so if Georgia doesn't respond the right way, this could be where we finally see that chip in the armor of Georgia, and we say, okay, could this be 2 straight seasons they don't make the playoffs? And we show that they're vulnerable, and this is like the opening of who's going to be the next dynasty that comes to power. I'm not saying it's time, but could this be the turning point where maybe it's Texas that starts to take that throne or another program? But this, like you said, I think is a huge weekend for Georgia and a huge weekend for college football to see what happens in that game. So I'll definitely be looking to watch that.
Well, what time? What's the kick on that? Is
7:30. 7:30.
Oh, 7:30. That's
on
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. But like you said, let's get back to Florida State and what's going on there. So before we get into there's been some news around the program, obviously, and I think we have to talk about it because there's been some mixed reactions to Florida State for Florida State fans. We got a big recruit on the offensive line. We've been talking about the offensive line all year long and the underperformance of it as a position group, and probably I think one of the biggest reasons why you are 1-5 because you can't operate a good offense if you can't block and you can't run the football. But you got a commitment by Daniel Pierre-Louis out of Florida. He chose you over apparently Florida and NC State. But if you look at his offer list, it's not what you would expect. What was your reaction when you looked at this offer and the reaction by the fans?
Okay, you're going to take me down a road that I've been on all week, and if anybody out there follows our X account, most of that is done by me, and I post my name to most of the more controversial comments, and I take ownership of those comments. Okay, so you're asking me what do I think of this? First of all, it's a verbal commit, so we don't handle that very much. But I did see this stuff. Oh, here's the Great Wall. We're forming the next Great Wall. Well, we've seen that with guys like Big Country, the Pope. Who was it? The Pope. And some of these other guys that are so hyped because let me say this, okay? You took me down this. You baited me. Because you're 6'5" and weigh 310 pounds and have pushed around undersized guys on a football schedule from small towns, small rural areas, doesn't make you good enough to play at D1. No disrespect to this kid. No disrespect to anybody. What I'm saying is Atkins has this thing of throwing these big guys and getting these commits, and this is the next big guy. Let's turn the attention of really what we have here. We have the crappiest offensive line in the country, probably. We probably have the worst offensive line, who have the most reps, who have been hyped even by the early broadcast. Oh, this line is going to be run dominated. Alex Atkins' record, and I've been calling for his official firing. Okay, he should be fired because he should be held accountable, just like anybody in any business. He has well underperformed given the years on this staff. He brings in these guys, either one, they're not good enough, they weren't properly vetted, and two, he's not developing them because they're not getting on the field. Okay? But come Friday night against Duke, it looks like they're going to start Otto, and they're going to start early in the guard positions. Now, they've been hit with injuries. I'm tired of hearing that. Do you hear other teams say that? Alabama and Georgia and Texas and Michigan and Ohio State and Oregon. Everybody gets injuries. That's part of the game. Alex Atkins has this history of bringing these big guys in, and then I'm going to blame some of these sites on the internet, social media, for hyping them. Oh, now we're building the Great Wall for 25. This kid won't see the field in 25. And he may not see it in 26, given Alex Atkins' history. Alex Atkins has to go. He has to leave this program, and we must bring in an offensive line coach that has a good qualified resume, including NFL coaching experience. I'm not saying as a head coach. I'm saying as a position coach on the offensive line. He has to come in and take over this offensive line. Alex Atkins was given the offensive coordinator title. No one has asked Norvell, what the hell does that mean? And is he accountable for the poor offensive performance of this team? Bottom line, till Alex Atkins is off this team, the rebuild cannot be successful.
Yeah, I think, like you said, this isn't against the kid. This is against Alex Atkins and his history of recruiting at Florida State. You saw what I put up. You saw the reactions of certain segments of this Florida State fan base, which I think is wrong. We can't let Alex Atkins off the hook. You can't say, well,
why are they letting him off the hook?
Because I don't know, and that's the issue I have with this fan base, is that they're not seeing. They're saying, oh, look at the recruits we have coming. Guys, it's been 4+ years. This is only going to get worse next year, because even if you like the recruiting class we have now, these guys can't start next year. We're in this hole because of what Alex Atkins built, and it's only good. The doomsday scenario is next year. It's going to be even worse next year.
Terrible.
Because all these experienced guys that you have to leave, and now you're stuck with Armella, who they refuse to put on the depth chart.
I don't even understand that, and not one social media FSU beat reporter has asked that question.
And let's keep in mind too, it wasn't like Alex Atkins was having trouble recruiting offensive linemen. It's just none of these guys panned out, and a lot of them transferred.
Exactly.
So it wasn't like he couldn't land recruits before. It's just none of them panned out, and a lot of them had to leave. Daughtry Richardson, Quayshawn Sapp was an interior offensive lineman. Atavius Woody was an interior offensive lineman. All these guys are gone or not playing. Kanya Charlton is gone. All these guys I just named are gone.
And the guys he has on the roster can't play.
Exactly. So it's not like he had trouble landing recruits. He has like a 90% non-hit rate with these guys. Rod Orr, another guy. So when I see, Bryson Estes can't get on the field. So when we talk about, new recruits coming in, that's not been the issue. The issue has been development and getting impact on the field. So when I see a new recruit, especially when the guy who's ranked 98th at his position, why am I getting excited? And two, this guy I know can't play next year, when that's the biggest issue. So you need to go get a new coach who can develop talent, and then 2, recruit talent and identify, and 3, get some guys out of the portal right away who can bring some from his current school, bring them to Florida State next year, because that is going to be your Achilles heel because it's going to lead you to go 2-win season again next year.
Here's the deal for Mike Norvell. Okay, Mike Norvell's career as a head coach is on the line. Okay, it's clearly on the line. Now, he's not leaving, as you said last show. There's too much money involved for him to be fired. I mean, it would cost you an armored truck.
$90 million. I believe.
$90 million.
His buyout is $90 million.
That is crazy. That is crazy. So, he's not going anywhere.
No.
He has to make changes to the staff. If he is so loyal to all of his staff that he refuses to make changes, and as you stated, hold people accountable. in the real business world, which college football now is the business world, if he's not holding coaches and players accountable for their actions, then this program is not going to be on the rise anytime soon. So, if I don't see Norvell make a move with Atkins, he may do it at the end of the season. I'm not saying it has to be done now, but I'm wondering if he doesn't do it now, what is the impact of not doing it now? What is the impact of keeping him here till the end of the season? What do you gain at this point? He has to go. Alex Atkins cannot, and this is not about Alex Atkins personally. I'm sure he's a very nice man, but you're in a business world now. You're paid over $1 million, and your accountability, your sales, okay, and your buys are terrible. And it's all in the stats. We're not making this up. The stats are horrible. I've never seen a Florida State team with stats like this. I'll have to go back and look at in 1973 when Florida State, I think, was 0-11, and I was there. Maybe I could look at those stats, but these are horrible. I don't think there's anything like this. So if Mike Norvell is not willing to hold Alex Atkins accountable for this production, why is he calling him the offensive coordinator and thought he'd have this great run game, which in rushing, I think were 100 over 100 for 63 yards a game against the opponents we've been playing so far? That's a disgrace. And so the question is, when is Norvell going to hold Atkins accountable? And when will the media, and Warchump is the one that has the most access, and I heard him say that on one of their shows, that we're blessed to have this access to Norvell. Oh, he gives me the eyes if I make a question. Are you afraid of his eyes? It's your job to your subscribers to ask the tough questions. And asking about the future of Alex Atkins is a fair and professional question. And if they don't want to do it, bring me on contract and I'll gladly do it for you.
Well, I'll correct myself. Mike Norvell's buyout would be $65 million. So
okay, it's too much money.
But yeah, and I agree with you on everything you said. I think there needs to be questions about Alex Atkins' accountability. It's also Mike Norvell needs to hold himself accountable to say, I made a mistake in this hire. I haven't held these coaches accountable for who they recruit and who they develop. And I need to go ahead and make a move here. And it's not just on Alex Atkins. It's multiple coaches here.
We're not just but they have to start with him because you can see the numbers of the accountability.
And he's probably second. He's probably the second highest year, third highest year coach on the staff, behind probably Adam Fuller, and who Adam Fuller I think needs a hard look too in terms of who should he
no
be
doubt, no doubt. So. That is where this starts, KB, because you can't start your rebuild. We're in a rebuild phase now, clearly. It's not about winning and losing games. It's about a rebuild of this program and how quickly this will proceed or not proceed. These players now, when you start, as we get into the Duke preview, there's been a shakeup in, quote, the depth chart, which means nothing. But I think you're going to see younger players on the field for more reps because now you're not talking about a rebuild. A rebuild is also about retention of your employees. And that's basically what players are becoming, the player retention. All right?
So a couple things on that.
Yeah. So that's an important thing. Do you think that Norvell wants to lose some of these top guys, especially the skill players? It's mainly the skill players. He's got to find out who can play and who he can protect and keep here so they don't go out.
And we said this weeks ago. We said Kentron's not going to be here next year. Why is he still on the field? We said Darian Williamson's not going to be here. Why is he still on the field? All these, and it's no.
Well, some of it.
These guys. These guys have had opportunities and they have not shown up. It's over.
Some of it I see as a coach, and especially Norvell, is he wants to show loyalty to the players he's been around and the coaches. That's part of his mentality.
Well,
okay, that's part of his mentality, which is not an NFL type mentality, but he needs to adapt a more of an NFL mentality. He still wants to give reps to some of these seniors who might have a shot of being an undrafted free agent if they could have a good final 6 games maybe, or get an invite to some all-star game. You know what I'm saying? Which is not probably going to happen. But he's so loyal to people, he can't see the blind spots. He has blinders on and he can't see anything else. And it will cost him his job here as a head coach. And guess what? He does. He ruins Florida State for another 2 years. That's the real impact.
Recruiting. It's going to ruin him in recruiting.
Of course.
Because we saw the impact that guys like Landon Thomas and Amari Williams can make when you take Kyle Morlock off the field. Kyle Morlock should have been off the field 3 weeks ago because he couldn't catch a ball.
He's still listed on the top of the depth chart.
And once again, and that's just a thing, once again, he's too loyal to a guy that is obviously making the wrong plays and making mistakes over and over, yet he's still at the top of the depth chart when he shouldn't be.
But KB,
it makes no
why
sense.
Doesn't a beat reporter who has access, the one of there's like, what, 2 or 3 people? I always hear they're always the 3 people, is why doesn't they ask him, why is Kyle Morlock now still on top of the depth chart that you show?
Or how about asking why Maurice Smith can't snap a football? How about asking that question?
Okay.
Well, how about why is he in his 6th year of college football and he can't snap a fucking football to the quarterback? I would love someone to ask that question.
Or why would you bring in a guy in the portal, Jacob Rizzi, who's a senior transfer, and you don't give him a shot?
It makes
no Why
sense.
would they even bring that guy in here?
I have no clue. It's some of these moves are baffling. And
but nobody asked the question. No one will ask the question. They're afraid because I believe every program, including the coach, could say, I don't want any more press coming to my practices, and I don't want any more press conferences.
Now, I'm sure
a guy could say that, but if you say that, Florida State should say, no, that's part of your contract. See, it may not be in his contract. Who the hell knows?
I'm sure Jacob Rizzi is glad he came from all lively first team to go sit behind a guy that can't even snap the football. So I'm sure he's happy with his decision, and it's great. The one argument that fans on that side will take is that, well, look at the recruits that Alex Atkins has signed. He's got Solomon Thomas, the number 2 guy, number 24 O-line.
He hasn't signed anybody.
I'm saying the argument they'll make is, look at the class. He's got Solomon Thomas. You want to hold on to these guys. If you fire Atkins, these guys will leave. My argument would be is, if you only win 1 game this season, this guy, why would this guy even want to come? You think this guy isn't going to flip to Miami or Florida or South Carolina?
Of course. He's not going to hold all these guys.
I don't know why.
So what if he does?
I don't know why any guy would think that a guy of Solomon Thomas's character and skill set, a 5-star offensive lineman, would stick with Alex Atkins in Florida State if we go on and win 1 game based on what this guy can see on the field. You could say playing time, but why would he want to be surrounded by other guys who can't play?
It would be playing time and money, NIL money.
I just don't see. I don't see how we can sell Solomon Thomas.
Right.
Regardless of, I don't think it's worth keeping Alex Atkins if it means we get to keep Solomon Thomas.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. They need to make this decision of how they're going to do this, because I'm telling you, Alex Atkins. I don't want to say, I don't think Mike Norvell has to say, well, I missed on this. He doesn't have to say that. He just says it didn't work out the way we hoped it would. And everybody, including myself, because he blames, well, I have to do a better job coaching. Well, then to start with your evaluation process. You don't have to say bad things about Alex Atkins when in a divorce. You don't have to say bad things about a person. You can just say it didn't work out the way we had hoped. Alex Atkins is moving on to other opportunities. What do you think the Jets said after they just fired their head coach, coming back from, where was it, London or someplace. They're only 4 games into the season, right?
Yeah.
And they fired him. They fired him because they're not winning football games.
I think
these kids all come in now. It's with an NFL mentality, so they have to be treated that way, and our coaches have to be treated that way. So we don't have to bash Alex Atkins. He just needs to be removed, because if you have people not producing in your organization, in a business, they need to go. They need to find other opportunities.
And so Mike Norvell needs to get coaches who have coached at a high level. He brought in a staff, in my opinion, that wasn't prepared to build Florida State or recruit or develop at the highest level.
And he hoped they did, but it
look
didn't
at
work
Alex.
out.
Look at Adam Fuller. His highest level was with Memphis, with Mike Norvell. Before that, it was with Marshall, and then Chattanooga. Same thing with Alex Atkins. It was Tennessee Martin when he began his career. It was Charlotte before that, with 1 year at Charlotte before that. He didn't have this long tenure of doing this, of coaching and building. And so it's Mike Norvell made mistakes with the wrong, invested maybe with the wrong guys and gave them too much leash. And that is, once again, and they struck out too many times. They didn't hold them accountable.
Yeah, we can't keep hyping, especially on X or even War Chump. Look at the guy Alex Atkins has got a commitment from. This guy, these guys aren't going to turn this football team around. I don't care who they are, 4 or 5 star. Most of them, you may get an occasional guy that can start, or you know what? They have to start because you have nobody else. So if you think this is what's going to hold him in his job, it's foolishness. It's foolishness. And I think the longer it takes and the longer they wait, the more problems they're going to have to rebuild this football team.
And the coach everyone liked who left, who still didn't have that much experience, was Kenny Dillingham. And you look at but he even had experience at Arizona State and with, who was it? He had experience at Arizona State and Auburn before he even came to Florida State. So, and look at what now he's doing again at Arizona State and trying to rebuild that program, the big one they had this weekend. So, like you said,
if you brought in the right offensive line coach with a superior resume and including some NFL coaching experience, it's his job to keep the recruits in the pipeline that are there, okay, and show them. You obviously the goal is to go to the NFL. I've been there. I know what's going on there, and I can get you there. I will do my best to get you there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to have guys that can't just who can't just say they can recruit. You need the guys that can land the guys, but also develop the guys in 2 to 3 years, because you don't have much time with these players anymore.
And you can't be so hooked to one player that, if Alex Atkins goes or Adam Fuller goes, he's going to take half the team with me. Well, that's the player's choice, okay? Yeah. That's the player's choice. But you've got to evaluate each piece, as we've been saying. And Fuller and Atkins, I think, are both under the microscope, and I'm leaning that they both need to go, all right?
Maybe others, too.
Among others. Okay, among others. And it could be a horror scene for Norvell, but I don't know if it's in Mike Norvell's capacity to do something like this.
Well, if he doesn't make the move, then expect much more of what's happening this year to come next year, and don't be surprised.
Next year, if this is how a senior line, a very experienced offensive line and offense looks, next year will be a nightmare.
Oh, it's going to be a nightmare unless major changes are made.
Okay, and everybody out there can say, well, you guys are just negative. It's not negativity, fans. Let me say, it's not negativity. It's the reality. You have to buy into reality, or you can buy into the hugs and kisses and then be let down. So don't complain. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways.
Florida State's present reality is very negative. There's been no positives this season. I hate to break it to everybody, but when you're basically last in rushing the football, when you have one of the worst historical seasons in Florida State history, there's nothing positive. So point me to the positive, and we'll talk about positive things, but there's been nothing positive this season. Let's talk about the Duke game. So, once again, Florida State has the chance to either make history again for this season and lose to Duke, or they can keep the streak alive and beat Duke on the road in Durham. And that's what we're hoping we can do. So, Florida State's going to come in 1-5 against a Duke team that is having a decent season. Duke hasn't really played a lot of the great teams, so that is one thing that their schedule will show you if you're not familiar with it. They haven't played... they played Georgia Tech, who they lost to last weekend. Obviously, Florida State had their own game against Georgia Tech in the opening weekend. But Northwestern, Connecticut, Middle Tennessee State, and UNC, not a great schedule. Florida State definitely has played some pretty good teams when you look at Memphis, SMU, Clemson, among others. So this will be an interesting matchup because Duke isn't they're not. They're an average ACC team despite their record. They're not great at doing a lot of things, especially on the how do I want to say this? They're not great at I would say defending the running. Well, the running game will be interesting to say the least on Friday night, and I think Florida State has to do a better job. And we talked about this multiple times. We have to find a balance in the running game, and especially on third down. Florida State has been atrocious on third down. I think we rank 127th on third downs and converting third downs. Now, Duke, on the other hand, I believe they're 128th as well. So this is going to be two teams that can't convert when they need to, when it counts. So it'll be interesting to see which team can actually do better in terms of that regard. Now, like I said, when it comes to rushing the ball, Florida State's rush defense has been pretty bad. We're giving up almost close to 200 yards per game, and you guys see it every day, so I don't have to explain that to you. And that's a combination of defensive line not being superb and Daryl Jackson and those folks not doing super great. And the linebacking play hasn't been up to par to close those gaps either, or fill in those holes in the line. But Duke is not a great rushing team. They rank 111th in the nation. So this isn't a team, because we play Clemson, face SMU, Georgia Tech, all great rushing teams. This will be the first break Florida State's seen, and Duke not having a elite rushing attack.
They're still getting over 100 yards a game, though.
I know, but they rank 111th in rushing.
Okay.
So it's not a great.
And we're below that with 63.
Yeah. So once again, this isn't two elite rushing attacks, but we don't have an elite rushing defense, so we can make any running back look great at this point. So it'll be interesting to see if we can get any sort of. Did the bye week give us any sort of time to think? Did Adam Fuller put it together? Is he going to blitz a little bit more? Is he going to change up the defensive line scheme a little bit? Is he going to put some of these backups in and take Daryl Jackson off the line? I don't know, because this will be an opportunity for him to say we're not facing an elite running back anymore for 1 week. Is this my chance to try something new? I had a bye week. I could evaluate the game tape a little bit more. Is this the chance for us to do something different? Because this Florida State team is getting up 182 yards per game, and you shouldn't give that up against Duke. This is your chance to try new things against them. I don't know what's going to happen, honestly. This is not a team. This is a team you should be able to compete with this season, despite all the garbage you've put up. I think Brock Glenn has the opportunity. He'll have the opportunity to make big plays. You're not going into Death Valley at Clemson. You're not going into the swamp. This is a stadium that holds 30,000 people, 31,000 people. It's Friday night. It'll be a little bit loud, but this isn't, you're not going into an SEC environment. You're not going into Clemson. This is something that for him, even though it's his first true road game, I think, because he played in the ACC championship, he played at home against Clemson, he played in the bowl game. This will be his first true road ACC game. I don't think that'll be a big deal for him. What Brock Glenn needs is guys to catch the football, first of all. He needs guys to not fumble the football, and he needs to be smart. And if he doesn't see a guy open, he needs to run the ball or throw the ball away. He needs to control what he can control, not make stupid plays, throw the ball away, or use his God-given natural abilities and run the football for 5 or 10 yards. That's what we need from him. Keep the play alive, don't make dumb plays, and keep them in this game. That is what they need to do to win this game. Brock can do it, but he can't make dumb plays. And the guys around him, they have to make plays. They can't drop the football. They can't fumble the football away. They can't give Duke opportunities to stay on the field. If they can control the clock, if they can find some semblance of a running game to balance the playbook out, I think Florida State has every opportunity to win this game.
I think that I'll get right to the point. I think Florida State's going to win this game. I feel pretty confident. I don't know why I feel confident. Why would I feel confident if we're 1-5, 1-6, 1-5? I don't know why I feel confident, but I don't think I've ever seen us lose to Duke.
They never.
Now, historically, we're like, what is it, 22-23-0,
22-0.
22-0. Now, this is a historical game. There's a historical streak here, and I've been alive well beyond the 22 games we've played, but I've never seen Duke. You used to bring Duke and Wake Forest in as your homecoming games, right? Parents' weekend games, because they were like a sure win, Wake Forest and Duke. Okay, this is an important game in so many ways for this football team. Can we make some progress? Can we take a baby step forward? Even though it's on the road, to me, we have to win this game. We have to win this game because it is winnable, as you say. I've looked at Duke's who they've played: Elon, UConn, okay, Duke. North Carolina, Northwestern, Middle Tennessee, and they got beat by Georgia Tech. They've been in close football games against some opponents that aren't very good. Yeah. So to think we're going to go in there and come out losing, then we will have hit rock bottom. Okay? I don't think we've hit rock bottom, but if we lose to Duke, and we let their quarterback take over this game, he's a young quarterback too, but he's got abilities, and we allow this football team, now they're averaging 26 points, but they've been playing nobody. Yeah. Okay, they've been playing nobody. Exactly. And so I think it's going to be a fascinating game. It's going to be a fascinating game. I think Florida State, I think we will win this football game. I think it'll be a close game, and it could come down to a field goal. We still have Fitz, right? He hasn't been on the field in 3 games, I don't think, to kick a field goal. I think it could come down to a field goal. I think the young quarterback, Brock Glenn, is going to be fully prepared for this. I think that Norvell and the offensive coordinator, Alex Atkins, have given him things that he can do well. That's what you want to do as a coach. Give him things he does well. Don't call plays that are skeptical for him. But also whisper in his ear, Brock, if you see 5 or 6 yards on a broken play, or even if you're back in the pocket and you see a lane open up and there's nobody there for 5, 6 yards on a first or second down, take it and get down. Do smart things to manage this game. You've got good, skilled people, I believe. You've got people with adequate skills to help you along the way. This football team has at least the same, if not better talent than this Duke team, in my opinion. Now, how does that turn out? Who the hell knows? But we've got to start also. It's not so important to win. It is in a way, but it's also what young players are going to be able to play on this football team in 25. Is Otto, who's starting, and early, starting at guards, can they hold their own? How do they grade out in the end? Okay? Are they going to be perfect in everything? No. Like Otto got pancaked a week or so ago. They're not going to be perfect, but you don't learn on the sidelines. So each coach has to find out who can play on this football team. And that's it. The older guys, sorry guys, you're going to have to take the reps where we give them to you. And if you don't like it, you can sit out, or you can jump in the portal now. Guys are jumping in the portal now. Have you seen that from other teams?
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand that. They've just said, nah, I'm done with this team, and I'm jumping in the portal. You know, I saw a guy. He was, it's crazy, but you're playing for next season now, so you got to find out who the players are and who's not. But a win here would be nice. But don't be fooled by it. Don't listen to all the hype. If we beat Duke, you're not really beating somebody big. Okay, Duke is not going to the ACC championship game, and they're not going to go. They're not going to go to the playoffs. They'll go to some bowl game where half the players will sit out. The seniors will.
It's not. You're not. In Florida State's not playing for a bowl game.
No.
You're not. You're playing to see. What you should be watching for is, one, obviously you want to win the game, but you're looking for growth. You're looking for who's playing well, who can you build around. Like you said, it's not about, once again, you want to win the game, but who are the young guys? Elijah Moore, who's getting on the floor? Hakeem Williams. Do those guys stand out? Do those guys make plays? Are they dropping balls? Are they catching balls? Are they running the right routes? Is Brock Glenn seeing the field? Is he making multiple reads? Is he using his legs at the right time? Is he, is he running the read option the right way? These are the things that I'm looking for. Win or lose, I don't really care because we're 1-5. Another loss doesn't really do anything for me.
Right.
Another win doesn't do anything for me.
Right.
This season's a wash. It's about what do the players do on the field and who do I want to be here next year, because they may not be here next year regardless of what I think, but who was the right choice by this staff? Was Elijah Moore a good pick? Was Otto a good pick? Does he step up and play better with more time on, who on that offensive line do Jalen Early and Otto play well together when matched together? Does, Cam Davis actually have a breakout game that he can build around? That's what I care about. I don't give a shit about if we have a 2 next to our name or a 6 next to our game on our record going into after this weekend. It doesn't matter. It's all regardless. It's who steps up. Do guys actually step up, or do they crumble when they get on the field?
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, you're right, KB. We don't need to see more of Robert Scott. If we don't need to see more of Robert. Okay, nice guy, but we don't need to see him anymore. We don't need to see Ketron that much anymore. These guys are going to play. Don't get me wrong; they're going to play. Deuce Spann, we don't need to see Deuce anymore. Okay, he did. Some of these didn't work out. Kyle Morlock, we don't need to see Kyle. We need to see the other tight ends that have stepped up and actually looked pretty good in spots. We don't need to see a lot of these different players, that are seniors. Now, on the defense, it's a little bit different. I think you're going to see basically the same types of players getting the reps, okay? But if we can get the younger guys playing more reps, get them in there. But because as they always say in the coaching business, not only are you playing this year, but you're playing for next year. That's a common phrase in the coaching business, and it's very, very true.
Yeah. The defense is a different story. I think once again, you have the potential to have more of these guys back. Josh Farmer could be back next year. Darryl Jackson could be back next year. Patrick Payton.
A lot of them could be coming back.
Patrick Payton could be back next year because his draft stock has plummeted I think, dramatically. Marvin Jones will be.
He's
back
not going
next year.
anywhere. He's not going anywhere.
No, he's definitely not going anywhere. Blake Nicholson, DeMarco Ward, and Omar.
They're not going anywhere.
Those guys are going to be back. So we need, we'll see a lot more, a lot of them. But guys like Edwin Joseph, I want to see more. Kevin Knowles is gone, so I want to see more of Edwin Joseph. Even though Kevin Knowles, I think, has played okay, but I want to see Edwin Joseph and Jabril Rawls. I want to see,
Charles Lester,
Kadarius Jones. Eventual Cypress is going to be gone. I want to see Kadarius Jones and Kai. I want to see Kai Bates. We got hyped up as his true freshman coming in. I want to see Kai Bates on the field. I want to see more of Earl Little on the field. KJ Kirkland's a freshman, so I'm fine with him playing the bug position and being on the field. But I want to see Conrad Hussey. I want to see, Demonte Brown. I don't know why we brought him in. He's a redshirt senior, but that's fine. He's brought in as a backup. That's fine. But Charles Lester, I would like to see Charles Lester on the field. Rotate him in more with Azaria Thomas. Thomas could be gone potentially. He may transfer. He may be one of these guys.
He could be
for his last year, or he may test the waters. But some of those guys too, like we talked about, Shaheem may go. He may test waters pro. He may transfer out. So that's what you have to hedge on too. Those older guys who are juniors going to be seniors, they may say, "Well, I may not be." Stop tapping, please. those guys may not be good enough for the NFL, but they could go somewhere else and potentially get more money because they have the reps and they have the experience. So you have to hedge. You have to hedge and play some of these younger guys because they may need reps. When you lose some of these veterans, maybe Darrell Jackson, maybe Joshua Farmer, maybe Patrick Payton, when they go transfer somebody else, where else? You have to hedge for that by playing some of these younger guys more, even if it makes you make more mistakes or maybe lose a game for it. Just play them. Just play them.
How did we bring in Grady Kelly all the way from Colorado State? And I'd see him on the field occasionally, but he's going to be back next year. Let's rotate these guys in, as you're saying, okay? I think it's an important time for evaluation and development. And failure to do this is not part of is not a successful rebuilding program if you're not doing that. In coaching, I will say this. Listen, I've never coached at any elite levels. In fact, mostly junior levels. But even at those levels, you kind of know who can play and who are the guys I need to really bring along I think can play and get them into the game in situations that they can be successful and help your team. And this staff has to go through this process. There is a phase of rebuilding that everything has to be looked at. And unfortunately, difficult choices must occur. And if Norvell is not up to that task and A.D. Alford is not up to that task to lean on him to make that happen, Florida State football program is going to be down for a good while. And when we're all excited about a 12-team playoff, now it seems like a long-distance run to even get to something like that. And you're right about something you say, too. How many of these guys, even if they're good players and they put a lot on tape over the next 6 games, may say, I don't want to be around for this rebuild. I'm going to take my chances, coach. You go to the coach and say, I want to take my chances. I want to put my name in and see if I can get picked up where I think I can get a better deal. And if I can't, would you welcome me back or not? That's an honest discussion.
You already saw these guys test it, and you were coming off a
DJ Lundy.
DJ Lundy. Patrick Payton did it. You saw these players already do it, and now you're going to be coming off a 2-win, potentially 1-win
And I think
season.
Farmer played that too.
That's what I'm saying. We saw this already play out. You don't think it's going to play out again? Even worse.
Yeah, I think it will. I tell you what. But this is where the coach Norvell and whoever his guys he trusts, they have to sit down and they got to make some tough decisions because it's a hell of a mess. It's a hell of a mess, and now everybody's getting hyped again. Oh, we just got a commitment from a 6'5", 310-pound guy who pushes around low average defensive lineman. Let's go back to that for a minute. This guy's, any of these recruits, they're big guys. Alex Atkins brings in these big guys. But nobody asks, who have they really played against? What competition have they really played against to find out who they are? And as you said, no disrespect to any of these young men. You said the guy's list of interest from North Carolina and Florida, those were the interests that they got.
This is what you need to look at right here. Inside I'm drafted in the last 5 years, 0.
Yeah.
State.
There you go.
I mean,
terrible. It's terrible. Look
at the schools recruiting him. How many linemen they've had drafted in the last 5 years?
Right.
That tells you. That tells you the schools that have linemen drafted are the ones that are offering him aren't the right ones.
Right.
The right schools. That's why if Georgia or Alabama or Texas were looking at him, I would say, yep, you're in the right spot. But we found the gem. I'm not saying this guy can't be good in 3 or 4 years, but I'm saying we're Florida State. Why are we not? We should be competing with the 5-star guys and the high 4-star guys.
At least.
But we're looking for the diamond in the rough, the kid who's, like you said, hasn't been found. But look, these are the stats. 0 guys drafted. That's why we're not in these battles. That's why we're not winning these battles. because we're out here trying to find the guy that nobody's found before. That's not Florida State football. That's not Florida State recruiting.
No.
We're out here competing with Georgia State for a guy. In Marshall, in Eastern Washington. You know what I said? I said, if I was this kid, I would definitely take the Florida State offer because I then get more eyeballs on me.
Why not? Why not?
Then I get schools to say, did we miss something here?
Why not? You're exactly right. Why wouldn't you do that? Yeah, why wouldn't you do that? That doesn't mean other schools stop the recruiting process.
No.
That's where that used to be a gentleman's agreement not to do that. Not anymore.
I immediately commit, and then I get other eyeballs on me immediately. This is smart by the kid. Even if he doesn't plan to go here, immediately gets eyeballs.
You don't think they're playing the business game already?
100%, I would be. It's a smart move by him.
Yeah, this is
because like you said, he plays at a small school in a small town in Florida.
Yeah. I don't even know where the hell that is in Florida, and I know Florida pretty well. I don't even know where the hell that is.
But once again,
if
Alex Atkins is looking in the wrong areas, is he looking at places that he won't have competition to recruit? Like, where is he? I don't know. I don't know. But good for this kid. I mean,
we're just using him as an example.
Oh yeah, it's not.
There's going to be more of these guys.
It's about Alex Atkins.
It's about Alex Atkins. It's kind of like when basketball teams, Coach Ham, he used to sign all these big, tall guys, 7'2", 7'1", and most of them couldn't play. I mean, they're not like playing in the NBA. They weren't even that good to play, most of them, at Division I. I mean, big doesn't mean good. Yeah, and Alex Atkins' record has to be held to a standard, and it shows I bring in big guys, mostly three stars, and they don't pan out. So, but as you say, why wouldn't a kid commit? Take it. Take the offer. They may pull it back. Who knows?
But you already get the eyeballs on you.
But at least you have an offer.
Yeah,
you have a good offer, and now you're committed, which makes them feel committed as well. Even though he says, I'm verbally committed, it doesn't tie either one of them officially.
No,
and you know that the letter of intent has changed now. That came out this week. I don't want to get into all that shit, but that has changed now because of NIL money and everything, it's changed a little bit. So I'll tell you, Florida State, it's a mess. It's a mess, but you have to make decisions.
All right. So you're picking Florida State to win this game, though?
I'm picking Florida State to win this game. I picked them to win every game at the beginning of the season, and I'm going to pick them to win this game. This will be rock bottom if we lose.
Yeah. It'll really, this will be the first chance, I think, in a while that, can you please, it'll be the first time in a while that defensive line, we'll see defensive line if they can do anything or not. Malik Murphy's not a true runner. He wants to sit back there and deliver the football. The defensive line needs to step up this week and sack the quarterback, right? They got all the hype. They didn't live up to it. Get to the quarterback, cause disruption, cause chaos, get off the field on third down, and let Brock Glenn, let him hopefully deliver the football, score some points, and hopefully we can break 12 points, get to 21 points, and win this game. But I think, to your point, you brought up earlier on special teams, I think they're going to allow Fitzgerald to get on the field and kick three. I think 3 points, whether it's 4 field goals or 5 field goals, that will be crucial in this game. And I think they're going to let him get on the field and get field goals, and I think he'll deliver. And I think it'll be a 7-point game. I think it's +3 right now for Florida State. Florida State's the underdog. I think it'll be 7-point ball game, and I think it'll come down to a field goals and who makes the least amount of mistakes. And it'll be up to this defensive line for Florida State to cause chaos. This is their opportunity to actually do it, where you don't have to think about a truly mobile quarterback, but you have to stop the run, and you have to cause the disruption in the backfield.
However, let's not lose sight of the fact that I saw Joe Burrow from the Cincinnati Bengals run 47 yards untouched into the end zone. And he's not really a mobile guy either. So any quarterback can go out and burn you for 5, 10, 15 yards, and that's all you need to do. And I think Brock Glenn would be – I hope he takes those opportunities. But yeah, Duke is a team that at the level we're playing football now, they can beat you. But I
Manny
do.
Diaz is a good coach. New
Oh
coach.
yeah.
You
Now
don't think he wants to get a win against Florida State with the whole rivalry with Miami, and he wants a statement win for his new program.
they lead, or they don't lead, but they're very high in the rankings in terms of pressures on the quarterback and tackles for a loss.
He's a defensive-minded coach. Manny
He is,
Diaz,
and they know he knows he's got a new quarterback back there, so he is going to try to rattle him early and often. He'll take his chances early and often. And when we have the ball, we need to be able to grind out good drives. We need to get a running game going. If we can't get 100 yards in this game, I'll be shocked again, and I know then we'll hit the rock bottom.
All right, the last thing I want to wrap up with is an article that came out, I believe, yesterday. This article by 24/7 Sports. Will Luke Kronk play some this week at Duke? This was rumored last week against Clemson that there, and Mike Norvell confirmed this, that there were certain plays and set up for Luke, but it just didn't work out for him. I hate that this is actually something that's being asked and even being thought of right now. I don't think there should be any scenario where Luke gets integrated into the lineup unless something has, like, God forbid, an injury happens to Brock Glenn, which I thought maybe almost happened last week when he did that run on 4th down or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I thought he got banged up there. And then we learned that at the end I thought he got hurt at the end of the game, like a hamstring or something, but he's fine. He's been fine, which is good. But there was rumors that, once again, that he potentially, because he was high, Luke, we know, is a highly rated quarterback, one of the highest rated recruits that Mike Norvell's landed, number 35 overall, like it says here. Would they try to get this guy into the game to see if, to show what he has, right? We've seen a lot of true freshmen play this season across college football, right? That's been the big trend, is get playmakers on the field. And, Florida State is finally embracing get your best players on the field, or get your young players on the field and show what they have. Do you think that it would be smart to get Luke on the field to keep him engaged in the system, engaged in what Florida State's doing? Or do you think that's a disservice to Brock?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's a really good question. It's a really tough issue for a coach, because you are trying to find out who is your quarterback for the future. And you have these two guys you're trying to evaluate. So how am I going to approach that evaluation? You can't just do it through practice. It has to come in game reps. If I don't, an injury sometimes bails coaches out. Norvell got bailed out on DJU because of an injury. He got bailed out there. Takes the decision off the thing.
Yeah.
I'm not the type that likes to say, if the game's going well for the Noles and Brock Glenn, that I'm going to disrupt that rhythm by all of a sudden I'm going to put Luke in for a series now. I'm going to put him in for a series. I don't like that type of strategy and evaluation. I don't think it's fair to either quarterback. I don't think it's fair to just put a new quarterback in for a series or two and then take him out. Yeah. What do you learn from that? He hasn't had a chance to even get his rhythm in the game. Exactly. I don't learn anything from that. So I think if I'm a one quarterback guy, and if that means I could lose Luke, then that's on Luke. Okay, I only control what I think is best for this football team and what's best for my quarterback situation. I would not do that. I would not do that. I would not put in Luke.
To your point, and to that point, what is Luke going to bring differently that Brock, like you said, if Brock's playing relatively well and hasn't thrown 4 interceptions in the game,
right?
What is Luke going to bring differently to the game plan that Brock doesn't? Brock brings mobility to the game. He has a rocket for an arm from what we've seen, and he can manage the game. I don't know what Luke is going to bring. Usually, if these guys are both true freshmen, and you had just lost DJ, you may do the quarterback rotation, give them both a half or rotate them to see what they can bring. But they're somewhat similar quarterbacks in terms of what they bring. It's not like Luke is a speedster that's going to be able to do Jordan Travis like things. As far as I know, right? I think there are similar type quarterbacks and not too totally different. And I think Brock gives you that balance that you're looking for in a quarterback, in that he can move, he can use his arm, and he can throw, do things on the run. I just don't think Luke right now gives you that much of a different impact, especially being a true freshman still learning, that it's worth that. Especially like you said, where Brock has been thrown in the shittiest situations in terms of his development. The Louisville game, the Georgia game, and then last week, playing against Clemson, that was his first time where he actually had a week to prep for it. I think it'd be totally unfair to say, okay, hey, we're going to throw Luke in some packages when Luke's not like it's not like a Tim Tebow package where he's going to go and run the football and bowl guys over. I just don't get that. There would be no reason to have a special package for Luke, in my opinion, because I don't think he brings some special element to the football game.
No, I don't.
Unless
I
I'm
agree.
missing something.
I agree with you. Sometimes coaches will do that to try to make the other team have to play to that aspect. But if I was Manny Diaz, I wouldn't be threatened by it. You got Luke, who hasn't played, so I'm not worried about him lighting it up on me.
And the biggest downside to Brock's gameplay last week was his receivers dropping the football. I mean, Brock played, I felt like, pretty well out of his mind. You said last week that if his receivers don't drop the football, he has close to 300 yards passing on the day. And so, I think Brock has played well enough and deserves to continue his natural development. And that's not to say Brock won't struggle this week. He's developing. He's going to have his struggles, but I think he's earned the right to be on the field the majority of the time, unless something happens.
Yeah, this isn't like the NFL where they have preseason where the quarterback, okay, you get quarter one, and then the next guy gets quarter two, and then this is not what this is about. You're in regular season play here, and Brock Glenn is your quarterback right now until he proves that he's not. Okay, and that could be if he has such a horrible first half. I mean, he's going to play for. If he has such a horrible first half, because how many possessions do you have in the first half? 5 or 6?
Yeah.
5 or 6 possessions?
Yeah.
I think Florida State has to score on at least
2 or 3.
Two or three of those, one a field goal, maybe a couple touches. If he shows I am not productive in moving the football, I am mishandling things, I'm fumbling. I mean, personally him. Okay, personally him now.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of other parts to this football team. But if I'm personally not managing my job, then the coach has every right to then start Luke in the second half.
Yeah.
Or and then that's something Norvell has to decide. Well, let me give him part of the next quarter. Let me give him a couple possessions in the third quarter. And then at that point, I'm going to go to Luke. Because you are evaluating your quarterback position. But Brock would have to do something that makes me as a coach say, okay, let me give Luke a chance here now. So that has to be an injury or bad play by Brock Glenn. If the offensive line doesn't hold up and he's being sacked and he's being hurried and he throws a couple of picks and he fumbles the ball away, is that really your quarterback's fault? Do you think Luke's going to do any better with that?
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's up to Norvell to make that decision, and then he should be pressed on that point in post-game.
And what I would even say would make more sense to me is if you built certain packages around Trevor Jackson, who is more known as a runner, who was known as an elite athlete and known for his athletic ability for running the football in high school. Yeah. And that would make more sense to me. But
it does.
That's what would more
almost like a wildcat quarterback who can run and pass.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. I think this is typical Norvell, who wants to please everybody, and he is concerned about retention.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Keeping people engaged, and exactly. And it's tough. It's tough. And in some programs like Texas, we're able to keep Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers and keep 2 elite quarterbacks in the same room together, and that's not easy to do.
Well, in that case,
down to money. and NIL and
what's his name knows that Quentin Ewers is leaving next year. He's gonna be leaving,
yeah.
so he'll be the guy.
But he sat for 2. I mean, he sat for 2 years.
I know.
This will be another.
Hey,
year.
listen, Florida State had quarterbacks sit for 3 years.
Well,
in
that
the
was pre
days
NIL.
past.
That was pre
Pre.
getting. So it's a little bit different.
It's
now,
a total different package.
But you got it. It's you got to keep guys. Yeah.
But when you ask me personally, Brock Glenn plays until he proves he's not having a good day.
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you. All right, we'll leave it at that. So, like
if he
said,
tries to alternate quarterbacks in different that will be a disaster.
That's unless it's a special package for, like, I would say Trevor Jackson because of his athletic.
I agree
ability.
with you. I agree
because of
with
his
you.
athletic ability
And his agility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna do it. We both are picking Florida State in a tight one, but we think that this matchup is more favorable to them than the past ones, and we're hoping for a big one to keep the streak alive of the unbeaten streak alive against Duke. And so we're hoping for this team that they play their best, and that we're hoping that the playmakers step up around Brock, and that this defense can do what we were hoping they would do all season and step up and clamp down on Duke. So,
but let's not forget, KB, as we've said, win or lose. This is a rebuild.
Yeah.
Florida State is in a major rebuild from coaches down through the players, and it's going to take a lot of time. And the most important thing about this program, and I've said this for a good while now, and I will continue to say it, is Florida State has to get this lawsuit and get the hell out of the ACC for the future of this program. That's more important than anything else in this program.
And to complement that point, if you get to the next level, which is the Big Ten and the SEC, you have to have coaches who recruit at that level, and you do not have the staff that can do that yet.
Correct.
So, but to wrap it up, I'm hoping the best for Andre Otto and
for everybody. Everybody.
But I'm hoping that these freshmen play. I hope they have great games. I would love these guys to step. We talked about Atkins and this recruiting the line, but I hope these guys step up and have a great game, because I would love these guys to be building blocks to the line. Going forward, we're gonna need them to be. We need Andre Otto. Like we desperately need Andre Otto and
Lucas Simmons.
Lucas Simmons. We need these guys to step up and have great games. Jalen Early. We need these guys to have big games on Saturday or on Friday, and I'm hoping they do. So best of luck to them, and best of luck to the young guys. I'm hoping we see guys like Lawayne McCoy, Elijah Moore, finally, these true freshman receivers. I want these freshman guys. So really, if you're watching anything on Saturday, watch these freshmen. Watch these freshmen and watch what they do, because this is the future of what we are. It's not about wins and losses anymore. It's about do young guys step up.
And let's remember, this is a primetime game on Friday.
Yep.
So a lot of people across the country, including possible recruits,
that's who
are going to be watching this game. Is especially 4 and 5 stars. I mean, we can get 3 stars. I mean, that's pretty good.
They may be at their own games Friday night, but when they get home, second half, they'll get home.
They're going to watch this.
And maybe, like you said, that's a good point. So, all right, guys, enjoy your night. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching this late or right now, thank you for coming by. Like and subscribe. Give us your comments. Do you agree or disagree with us? Who do you think is going to win? And, yeah, we will see you guys soon. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. And take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.